So in this video, we're going to be talking about cook kits. Cook kits. It's one of those things, everybody's got their preference, everybody's got their way of doing it. And, you know, I have gone through maybe about 2 or 3 or 4 different types and spoons and pots and stoves and gas and alcohol and all these things to try to figure out what I liked best. So here's what I use most often. I want to say that most often for most of my backpacking, bike packing, camping trips that I take. So first I have my Spork. This is a Vault Can Titanium Spork. I believe I got this on Amazon. Might have paid $10, $15 for it. I can probably try to find that again and post the link below. You know, it's a spork and you use it to eat your food with, and it comes with this little bag. And so normally I don't bring the bag with me backpacking. I'll just like throw this in my food bag. But yeah, this is my spoon, and it's a long handle spoon, which I think more than what your spoon is made out of, you should get a long handle spoon if you're planning to eat mountain house type meals, because otherwise if your spoon's this big, you're going to get food all over your hands, and that's just annoying. So long spoon for that mountain house bag. In here, I have a titanium cook pot. This one is a 500 milliliter. Actually, I think this is the 750 milliliter because it goes up to 500 on here, but the 500 is like down here. So I think if you fill it up, yeah, actually, if you look right here on the packaging, it says 750 milliliter. So this is a 750 milliliter. It's about 2 cups, which is you know, around what you're going to need for most of those mountain house meals when you're boiling water, or for like most often when you're cooking anything on the trail. This one I got from Dutchware, which is also where I got my hammock from. I mean, you could get everything from Dutch. He's fantastic. Little cool little lid, and I will go over these things, the things that are in the pot, and I'll show you how I package it and carry it and all that. You know, it's a titanium cook pot, and it's fantastic. It's made of titanium, and mine is special because it has rice burned into the bottom from when my wife tried to cook a rice side in there on the stove, and she burnt rice into the bottom. And so that's just a fun memory to have rice burned into the bottom of your pot. The stove that I use is a BRS Titanium Stove and is this big. It's very tiny. And so this thing, I think again, was like $15 on Amazon, and it just works. It's tiny. Let me pull it back. Let me see if I can focus for you. It's tiny and it works and it's fantastic. And I've never had any issues with it yet. I mean, I've been using it over a year. Probably been on more around, I don't know. Enough backpacking trips to know that I would trust this for any given amount of time. Pretty good little guy here. Bring a little baby Bic and then a canister. And this is a full canister. So I'll be able to give you guys like weights and stuff like that here in a minute. But this is, I almost just dropped that. But this is, you know, essentially my setup. I also bring a little bandana in there. I found that the bandana comes in handy for a couple different reasons, and I'll show you why when I package everything up. But it just helps to have like something to wipe things, or to like set this on like a log or a rock or something and just have like a nice area to like put things. I don't normally get this dirty. If anything, it gets more wet than anything. Sometimes I might use it to like dry the inside of my pot when it's done, but I don't use this to like clean my dirty spoon or like wipe my mouth with it or anything like that. I try to keep this somewhat sanitary and clean because I'll show you. I use this to kind of package everything up in my pack. And then I have these little feet, this little foldy feet. And I modified these. I modified this one to kind of fit into my pot. I had to trim off a little bit of the tip of the foot there because otherwise it wouldn't have fit into my pot, but it just fits now. Almost so much that you can't even get it out. But yeah, I will now show you how I put all this stuff together. I feel like I don't need to show you how this actually like attaches to that. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory how your stove screws onto the top of your gas. I'll rather focus on the actual parts and pieces of it than anything. So this is how I package everything up when it goes into my pack. Okay, so I have all my parts and pieces here. Like I said, I don't normally bring these little guys. I do, however, bring this one. This one came with the pot when I bought it from Dutchware. But here's how I package everything up. So again, the spoon normally goes into my lock sack or my food bag somehow. Sometimes I forget to put it in the lock sack and I just throw it into the food bag itself. Normally I just don't keep this out, but this doesn't really go with the cook pot. It doesn't really fit in there. So you can get foldable ones. I tried looking into that, but I never really found one that I really liked. So I just stick with this and just throw it in the bag itself. So this is kind of how I package everything. And so I take my pot like this, and I take my bandana and I put it kind of centered over the pot like that. And then I take the canister and push that in. And then I take the stove and fold that all up and put that in there. And I take the big lighter and put that in there. And then I take all this and I stuff it all in there. And then I take the feet. And sometimes when I'm backpacking, I don't bring the feet just to save on weight. Shove that in there, and that actually fits pretty tight. Like, you probably wouldn't need a lid. Aside from the lid is pretty functional. When you use the lid when you're boiling water, it helps the water boil faster. So always bring the lid. And then all of that just gets stuffed into the stuff sack. I can get it in there just like that, and then pull the drawstring. And I do have like this tiny little S-beaner on the string here. Every once in a while I'll bring like a line to hang up. So if I need to hang this on anything, I can. It's light enough. It doesn't really matter. I keep it on there. But that's it. So the reason why I packaged the bandana in there is a couple different reasons. If the pot is still wet, I can put that in there and it kind of dries everything out. Sometimes I'll wipe it and dry the pot before I put everything back in there because I don't want moisture getting into the actual stove or the canister. So that's why I put the bandana in there. And then the other thing is it doesn't rattle. All that stuff in there is just completely quiet. Not rattling around and stuff like that. I don't know why, but I just it does something to my soul to not have it rattle. But essentially, that's my cook kit. So now the big question I'm sure everyone's been asking, how much does it weigh? Let's find out. So this is a completely full canister of gas, never been used at all, but everything else is as it would be. So this is kind of like starting off on the trail, as heavy as it could be, cook kit for about a 3 or 4 day trip. And you get about 15.52 ounces, or 0.970 pounds. You add the spoon and you get basically exactly a pound. It's 1.003 pounds, or 16.05 ounces for this whole thing. And then, just for giggles, let's take the feet out, because this would be my backpacking weight. So if I have to carry this thing on my back, this is what I'm going with. Let's see how much weight I save. So 14.99 ounces, or 0.937 pounds. So, in my opinion, a pound for your cook kit is really not that bad. I'm sure you could get lighter if you were cold soaking, then you wouldn't have the gas of the stove or anything like that. And I've done the measurements on alcohol to this, and so I've just found you're splitting hairs, and you're really not saving like that much weight to really kind of like determine one over the other. I do like alcohol because it's completely silent when you're cooking. So in certain situations where you're going out and you don't want to listen to the jet noise of the stove, it is nice to have alcohol. But at the same time, I have found gas is quicker to boil, and it's just, in my opinion, it's more efficient. That's just my opinion. From what I've found, I found that it just works, and that's what I use. Most often, this is what I use.